So, welcome to part two of how to very deliberately shape your physical reality. Okay, this is something that we are all learning. Even I am getting more and more versed at it, and more and more skilled at it. It is, and it's probably going to be a skill that we're learning until we pass on to the next phase of learning some more. Which I'm not into learning lessons because we are actually in this reality, this physical reality, to enjoy ourselves, to enjoy being here. So it's not really all just about learning, and being challenged and being and going through trials and all of that stuff in preparation for some next life or something. No, we are eternal beings. Yes, it would be great to be aware of how to create things very deliberately, and that's what we want to do. But it's more for our it's for us. It isn't to prove anything to anyone. It isn't to please the divine or please the universe or whatever. It is for our own benefit that we learn this stuff. Okay, so that we can actually enjoy life because we can create, because then we'll know that we can create whatever we set our minds to. Because it's all right saying this stuff. Now we want to put it into practice, right? Okay, so yesterday we did the whole affirmation, stay on your throne. I really hope you listened to that. Again, I find that to be particularly amazing. One of my musical contemplation-y affirmation things, because I still remember downloaded it from the divine, and it was very powerful, and it still is. Every time I listen to it these days, there's always a different part of it that's just like, oh, yes, that's so true, so real, so true. So make sure you're listening to that definitely every day this week. Okay, and that was the thing about yesterday. And today we're going to talk about, I'm going to simplify it. There's two ways, because as I said yesterday, the physical reality demands energy. It needs energy. So it's not like it demands it. It needs energy to exist, ultimately. And the energy is coming from us. One way or the other, it's coming from us, it's coming from the divine. Yeah, ultimately the divine is powering everything. But we are in it and we're creating it all at the same time. It's kind of a weird and wonderful, amazing thing that sometimes you kind of have to really get your head around. Ultimately, we're in it and we're energizing it. We're in it. We're the batteries for it in some ways. Everything that we do in some way gives out energy, provides energy, or takes energy. We are keeping the physical reality going ultimately. Okay, just like in the Matrix, except it's not some conspiracy. It's just the way it is. It's not, nobody's trying. Nobody's forcing you to be a battery pack. It's just the way life exists, or the way life works ultimately. So as I said, to simplify, there's two ways that you can be powering the physical reality. You can be doing it very unconsciously, very passively, or you can be doing it very deliberately, very deliberately, very consciously. I like to separate that into descending into the underground or ascending to your throne. Okay? Tomorrow we'll be talking about throne. Today we're talking about the descent into the underground. Okay? The noise, the nonsense, and the drama is what I like to call it. So in the noise, in the underground, ultimately, that is the realm of chaos. It's the realm, it feels important, everything you're doing and all the working hard and everything we do. And I will break it down a bit more. It feels really important, but actually it is a, it's like all the intense emotions you feel, that is providing energy for the physical reality. The thing is that the physical reality can be fueled in other ways that are not quite so painful to you. But the physical reality is neutral. It will get energy however you choose to provide it. Okay? Ultimately, it needs to exist. And so it will get the energy that you're providing however you choose to provide it. Yeah? So it's not that the physical reality is trying, it's not evil or anything. In fact, if anything, it exists to support you. However, in order for it to support you, you need to support it first. Okay, um, it needs ultimately it needs energy, and you provide the energy either by going into an emotional crisis and getting sucked into drama and noise and craziness, and all of that is just providing energy. Okay, and even amongst relationships, particularly codependent relationships, all of us, everybody in that codependency will be sharing energy, and this person takes energy from the other person, and the other person takes energy from the other person, because everybody's fighting for this feeling of limited energy, and all the emotion that comes out of that, all the intensity is also fueling the physical reality and keeping it going. Yeah, so it's almost like the excess the excess emotional tension is fueling the physical reality. And in the meantime, you, in the middle of your codependent relationship, you are feeling as if there's not enough energy to keep things going, but you're not consciously thinking this, but you guys are just kind of taking a bit of energy from each other and trying to share out the limited energy, and there's all this competition going on. So and this exists all over, for most people. Most people live this way ultimately, where that's why competition in some ways exists. Now, I'm all for a nice competition, but so I'm not saying all competition is bad or anything, but there's this overriding thought that there isn't enough to go around for everyone. And so you have to do whatever, either you have to do whatever it takes to get yours, or just lie down and accept that, you're not going to get yours, and it's just life is horrible and life is against you, and you're a victim of life, and you just have to kind of go along with it and hope that the next life is going to be better. And I talk about sometimes the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 people. Stage 3 is the practical mystic, which all of us in this community, well, at least that's what I'm seeking to support you to reach, is stage 3, where you're the practical mystic. If you haven't listened to the videos, you can ask me about those some other time. But stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 it's the victim thing, where it's all happening to you. And so usually when you're in the victim state, you find you either could get together with another group of people who all think the same as you and start throwing stones at other people who don't think the same as you, or blaming someone that it's their fault that your life is hard and blah 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 blah. Or you find a religion and hope that the divine is going to come and save you, and there's all this whole waiting around. And then you get to stage 2, where you suddenly realize that you have a lot more authority, you have a lot more authority over your life, but you're still really conditioned to struggle. Okay, you're still in that struggle state. And a lot of us in this community are in stage 2. You kind of know that you're not a victim, but you also still feel like you have to prove yourself and earn everything, and you're still struggling. Okay, even though you know that you can create whatever you desire, you're supposed to be worthy, but you don't really always feel worthy. And so there's just you're in the fact, stage 2 sometimes is more difficult than stage 1 or 3. Well, it's definitely more difficult than stage 3, but it's definitely more difficult than stage 1 as well. It's almost better that you don't know. Because at least if you didn't know, you could just be in this blissful ignorance and just kind of oh well, life is horrible and it's hard, and I just kind of like basically. But where you're in stage 2, you know that it isn't supposed to be that way, but you can't seem to get to a place of peace inside of you, even though you know that actually life is supposed to be easy, life is supposed to be whatever, you're supposed to be able to create whatever you want. And you do create some things, but then either drop out of your life again very quickly, because again, you're in the underground still, where in some ways you might know, and a lot of people that study the whole manifestation and law of attraction stuff, they don't know about connection with the divine. And so again, they are all fighting for limited energy, because if you are not connected to source, then you ultimately you're going to feel as if the energy that you can see in the physical reality right now is all that there is. And so you might say the words of, oh yeah, I'm sure there's abundance everywhere, but you won't really believe it, and you definitely will not be experiencing it. Okay, that's sometimes when people have come out of religion because they had bad experiences with religion, and so now they don't want to have anything to do with God or divine or anything like that. It's me, I am the one, I am the authority in my life, which you are. Yes, I agree, but you're not actually created to do life alone, because you have to get energy from somewhere. And yes, ultimately, in order for you to exist, there you are connected to the divine, whether you acknowledge it or not. But to get an abundance of energy, it's a very deliberate choice to deepen that connection to the divine. If not, it's just you trying to get your thoughts right, trying to get your words right, trying to do everything right, trying to, your spiritual rituals, you're trying to make sure you're perfect, you're trying to get it right, and then you can't. For most of y'all, you know that you've tried to do everything perfectly, and it only lasts for so long before you run out of willpower, ultimately, and then it gets really hard to stay consistent with anything. And I know I keep talking about the fact that people talk about, consistency, and consistency ultimately is your choice. But when you're trying to do it just in your own, just with the limited energy you're aware of having, it's difficult. It's really difficult, which is why I say stage two can sometimes be more difficult than stage one. Because at least stage one, you don't know. So you just kind of be a victim, but at least you don't know. So, whereas in stage two, you know, and yet you still feel, oh my God, I can't seem to get anywhere. And what's happening? Ah! The missing piece is the divine. Okay. Which is not to say that you suddenly all click into place, because we've been programmed to struggle. We've been taught that struggle is normal. Okay. But all of that emotional turmoil, all of that striving and comparison to everybody else, all of that internal drama, everybody else's drama, all of that stuff, all that endless doing to prove that you are worthy, all of that stuff, ultimately it's fueling the physical reality. Okay. So the physical reality being neutral doesn't care where the energy comes from to keep it going, to keep itself going. So ultimately, it will just keep going. However, you care because you will feel bad whilst the energy is being used in this way to fuel the physical reality. But it's not the only option. We'll talk about other options tomorrow. But I do want you to really start to understand, are you in the underground? And then we can talk tomorrow and beyond about trying to get out of it ultimately. But every burst of frustration and worry and desperation and neediness and all of that stuff, it's fuel that is sustaining the physical reality. Okay, it just keeps the physical world going, but it drains you. Okay, it drains you, particularly if you're not feeling particularly connected to source. Then it's draining you. Your body starts to show it. You start to have aches and pains. Some of you all have autoimmune conditions, all of this stuff, because you're at war constantly with yourself. And all of that is fueling the physical reality, because the energy you're giving off, it's going to be used in some way or the other. Energy is not wasted. Yeah. Now, so signs that you're in the underground. Just, I mean, I've already started talking about some of this, and some of you'll understand, and you're already resonating with some of what I'm saying here. Today is not really about solutions. It's about being aware of where you are. Okay. So today is about being aware of where you are, and it's also not about judgment either. And it's also a recognition that now that you start to see where you are, you can do something about it. And we'll talk about what you can do about it tomorrow. But today, it is very much about, let's be aware of how we are choosing to fuel the physical reality. And you do have a choice in the matter. It doesn't have to be that way. Okay, so things like people pleasing, yeah? And most of us are not aware that we're people pleasing, okay? You think it's the way to love people because that's the only way you've learned love. It's very conditional kind of love. And if I do this for you, then you will hopefully at some point like me, or you will like me anyway. It doesn't always work that way at all. And you end up feeling empty for it. Okay. And it's this overgiving thing and always taking care of everybody else and never taking care about yourself, of course, because you seem to be bottom of the pile. Unfortunately, you might have been taught that. Like definitely if you went through religion, I know I was taught Jesus first, yourself last, and others in between. Joy, joy. We sang it with such gusto, basically. And it was always like yourself last and others in between and God first. Why does it have to be that way? But I didn't question it for a very long time. And so even if you are that person that does kind of question things, if you don't completely understand that you are right to question it, you just feel guilty. Guilt as well will fuel the physical reality, but it will leave you feeling horrible ultimately. So you feel guilty that you're not people pleasing, even though there's part of you that thinks it's not right that you should be people pleasing, but because you are not completely sure that you're right, because you've been programmed so well into thinking that you are supposed to give up yourself in favor of everybody else, you feel guilt. And you keep doing either you keep doing the people pleasing or you rebel against the people pleasing, but whichever way, it's still energy you're fueling the physical reality with whilst also draining yourself. Okay. The approval addiction, where you can't seem to make it. It's like last week we did the whole thing about making decisions, but you struggle to make decisions unless you have approval from people around you. Does my family like what I'm wearing today? Does my family like the person I'm going to marry, or the person I want to go out with, or what job I'm in, or for goodness sake, do people like my social media posts? Do I have enough likes and shares, and who is looking at what I'm doing, and do I look good today, and all of that stuff, which social media unfortunately does promote as well, this whole looking for approval and just showing the best parts of yourself, or making up the best parts of yourself in order to get that approval, get people liking your posts. And if you're in business, doing that as well, which unfortunately, a lot of people are in business, and they forget that the point of a business is to, make a profit, and yeah, and to serve people. But then they start looking, oh, did my post get lots of, you kind of get sucked into the whole Facebook algorithm thing, or this thing, and Instagram algorithms, and I need to kind of play with the algorithm. That's not what you've gone in business for. But you forget that. So suddenly you get pulled into Facebook's agenda. Facebook's agenda is to keep people on their platform. It's not actually to make you any money. But you forget all of that, but it's all part of, again, because it shows up like that. But it started because you bought into this idea that other people have to like what you're doing in order for you to be allowed to do it. Okay, which really gets in the way of living a purpose aligned life, because people are not always going to agree with you living your purpose. But if you're always seeking that approval before you do anything, but that energizes the physical reality. That tension you start to feel. Do they like it? Do they not like it? I don't know whether I can do anything. All of that emotional tension is fueling the physical reality. It's keeping it going. Okay. Victim loop. So why is this always happening to me? Why do things always go wrong for me? Why this? Why the other? No, life is hard for me. You just don't get it, Rosemary. If you understand what I've been through, blah, 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 which is all well and good. But again, it's fueling the physical reality, which is great. It keeps us all going here. However, what is it doing to you? What is it doing to you? Okay, so the whole victim thing, it's so subtle, because sometimes it really does feel like you're justified in feeling that way. And sometimes you are. Sometimes somebody has done something horrible to you. But again, how long do you want them to have power over you? Again, you kind of have to start to think about these things from an elevated place. Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow. If you're that person that always has to have the last word, always has to feel superior, always, and because it makes you feel safe, that you know more than everybody else, you are better than everybody. And we lovely spiritual people, and probably people, us in this group, you will not admit to this. So some of this stuff, as I'm saying it to you, notice, does it resonate? Whether you like to admit it, it's just like, what was it? Somebody just said in group about sometimes the truth is hard to hear. You don't have to admit it to anyone, although it will help you if you come and do a check-in group to get it out. However, admit it to yourself, though. Do you like being the superior person that knows more than everybody else? You always have to have the last word. You'd rather be right than happy. That kind of feeling. Is that you? Because all of that is to hide a part of you that doesn't feel superior. It's all to hide a part of you that doesn't feel safe. And it takes a lot of energy to keep that part of you down. Guess what that energy is fueling? Hey, the physical reality. Okay. The whole hustling and panicking now. Okay, I'm very much for, because you can look at some of the things I do and it can look like hustle, and sometimes it is, because sometimes I'm coming at it from a very desperate place. I'm not gonna lie, there are times when I am, but there are also times when I'm doing exactly the same thing, but I'm coming at it from a loving place. Okay, and you kind of have to know the difference, because there's nothing wrong. There's no blanket wrong. You should never hustle. And some people are like, oh, hustle, we should never hustle. Others are like, it's all about the hustle, which is all it doesn't matter. You can work hard at doing what you love, and that's absolutely fine. It's just, what are you doing it for? Only you know what is driving you. Is it guilt? Is it shame? Is it a sense that if I just work hard enough, I'll finally be worthy? Or are you fighting for what you consider to be scraps because there's not enough for everyone, so you have to, battle harder than everybody else in order to get what is limited? Again, is that the energy you're coming from? Or is it just actually for the love of the game? If it's for the love, then hey, it doesn't matter. But if it's from that place of the scarcity, I have to fight for everything. Oh my God, then it's not serving you. It's serving the physical reality, but it's not serving you. Okay. Have you felt, where you're clinging to people? So I'll die if they leave me. I have to do whatever it takes to keep them with me. Not always conscious thought, but look at your behaviors. Are you killing off yourself trying to maintain a relationship that is actually hurting you. All that hurt and pain is fueling the physical reality. But again, what's it doing to you? There are other ways to fuel the physical reality. You do not have to stay in pain. Okay, so you don't have to stay in a relationship that hurts you, but you might think that you do. Okay, or you might have been told that you just stay with the relationships no matter what. No matter what they're doing to you, no matter how painful it is, you're just supposed to stay there. Okay, how is that working out for you? Basically, do you care how it's working out for you? Even the beliefs around aging, okay, those two are programmed beliefs. I've spoken to clients where it's almost like the one day they were 44 or something, and then the next day they were 45, and their eyesight suddenly started going downhill. And it's almost like there was something that clicked in their head that said, "You're now getting old." And now you need to get desperate because you're getting old. You haven't done all the things that you were supposed to have done by now. And oh my God, you're getting old. And oh my God. And then your body's falling apart. And oh my God. Again, that energy is fueling the physical reality, but you're stuck in the underground, believing what you've been programmed to believe. Okay? Believing what you've been programmed to believe, even about aging, which can seem so, but if everybody gets old and everybody gets sick and tired, really? There was a time that people believed that you only lived till you're about 45. That was the average age of people being alive. And yet now people are living till 80 and beyond, basically. And so again, whose beliefs are you taking on and what are you allowing them to do to you? All of this, taking control, taking authority over what you're allowing yourself to believe is part of the ascent. But for now, we're just talking about the descent. Okay. So what do you believe about aging? And what are you scared about getting old? All of that fear, all of that desperation, it's fueling the physical reality. Thank you. However, what is it doing to you? It's draining you. Okay. Especially if you're not feeling that connected to the divine, it's definitely draining you. Okay. Job resentment or complaining. So all of you are your friends complaining about the job and the boss and this and that and the other. All of that's part of the noise, the nonsense, and the drama of the underground. Again, it fuels the physical reality. Does it fuel you? No. Going to church all the time. Nothing wrong with it if you're depending on where you're coming from. Again, no, because again, some actions can look. One person can be doing it from a really wholesome, healthy place, and somebody else can be doing it from a really, really destructive place. So it's like I know I spent a lot of my youth at church. I was at church practically every day in my 20s. I think I was at church, yeah, my late teens to 20s. I was probably all through my 20s. I was practically at church all the time, always doing some activity, something, always something happening. And I used to consider when I had children, will I do this? And I thankfully, by the time I started having children and everything, anyway, I started being a bit more thoughtful about where my life was going ultimately. And I'd also seen what happened to children of people who did this thing where they were always at church. The children generally ended up hating God. And I didn't want that for my kids. So it definitely made me think about it when I started having children towards the end of my 20s. Um, Basically, but then also lots of other things started happening in my life. So that really caused me to question a lot of the stuff that I had been programmed to believe was the way to do things. Okay, but religious over service can be a way of avoiding your actual life. And it's ultimately, yes, it fuels somebody else's vision and it fuels the physical reality, but is it fueling you? Not usually. Not usually, though. It's so hard to admit this because it feels like this is the right thing to do. You're supposed to be doing this, and you're told that this is what you're supposed to do. That only when you serve somebody else's vision will you be allowed to live your own or something. And so you'd be serving somebody else's vision for the rest of your life and never really live your own. But you kind of live in hope that, or you tell yourself that this is your own. You tell yourself to just settle or whatever. Or there's this whole religious self-righteousness as well, where you're better than everybody else and you're the only one that knows the truth and everybody else doesn't know the truth and it's just you, it's your way or there's no way or blah blah blah. All of that stuff again fuels the physical reality and it feels so right. It feels so right, except when you really take the time to look inside of you. It's like when I was actively Christian, there was this whole thing about only God can fill the empty space inside of you that only God can fill, and so only when you come to church will you feel filled. I didn't feel filled, but I didn't ever admit it. I still had a hole in my heart, and I didn't admit it because I was supposed to be fine now. I was at church now, so I was supposed to be fine now, except I wasn't. So some of these things is really hard to admit, which is why I say just listen to what resonates with you. Even if it doesn't, even if you're not ready yet to admit it, some of the work that I do here is just to plant seeds in you, so that when you're ready, you can accelerate forward faster. Some of what I say can annoy you to begin with, but that's fine because I'd rather annoy you so that you can live a whole life than leave you just make say nice pretty things that actually don't help you at all. Okay, so anyway, that's whole self-righteousness around we are the way and you are not, you are off the path and we know and you don't. Basically that again, it does it's I suppose it's all part of the whole same feeling superior, having to have that last word. It fuels the physical reality, thank you, but it doesn't help you. um the overeating, because these are ways that we start to cope. You start overeating, or you start taking drugs, or you again, religious activity can be a form of coping with life when you don't like life, or doing your more spiritual rituals and you're trying to get it all perfect, trying hard to be perfect. It doesn't work. It doesn't make you feel good. Fuels the physical reality. Okay. Then your body starts hurting, all of that stuff, because you're getting drained. Okay, your body starts fighting itself because you're continually fighting yourself. You're continually denying yourself pleasure because some of you might actually feel that even taking a break is it's lazy. Because I was thinking about that. For me, I was brought up, my family always considered me to be lazy, and they told me numerous times how lazy I was. And so sometimes I struggle to take a break because there's a part of me that thinks, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm being lazy. And then I realize, whose voice am I hearing right now? Whose voice am I hearing right now? And then the divine also then starts to say, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to relax. It's okay to stop fighting yourself. Stop fighting yourself. Sometimes you follow your instincts. Actually, I think that's yeah. Anyway, but but anyway, yes, you're listening to those voices from the past, but they're fueling this noise and nonsense and drama inside of you, which fuels the physical reality, but not you. Okay, it's like it drains your energy in order to fuel the physical reality, but it leaves you drained, particularly if you're not feeling connected to the divine. So there's nothing to refill you ultimately. um this where people do the whole, yeah, but how does that work, Rosemary? How am I supposed to create my own reality? How? And then you tell them, okay, why don't you try this or do the 14-day prosperity reset? And then it's like, I've tried that before and it doesn't work for me. Nothing ever works for me. And all of that. All of that thing where you're being defensive and people try to give you solutions, but you don't want them really. And there's always a reason why that was not going to work for you or that's not going to work for you. And you're always looking for the scam and you're always looking for all this and it's draining you. It's feeding the physical reality, but it's draining you. This is you being in the underground. It's not helpful. Okay, guilt, duty. Well, you're doing things just out of duty. I'm looking after my parents because I must, because I am a responsible child. And they looked after me when I was younger, so now it's my turn to look after them, even though it feels horrible, and even though I'm not living my own life. I'm supposed to give up everything for my parents because they did it for me, and blah, 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 all of that stuff. And I'm their insurance policy, even though you probably don't say that out loud, but yeah. All of that again, that where you feel like you have no choice, where you have to do certain things in a certain way. You have to do this job and I have to do this and I have to do the other. And I'm not saying anybody needs to suddenly stop everything, but it's time to start thinking about what you're thinking about. Okay, it's time to start thinking about what you're thinking about. What you consider to be responsible is who told you it was responsible. And does it feel like it's draining your energy? Because yes, you're fueling the physical reality, and for that we thank you. But again, is it fueling you? Is it fueling you? Because you are an important part of this equation, though you may sometimes seem to forget that ultimately. So those are things to consider. This is all part of the noise, the nonsense, the drama, the feeling of not being worthy, the feeling that you have to earn every single thing. And all the stuff that we've spoken about here, does any of these resonate with you? Are these areas that you need to check in with? Are you it's stuck in the underground in these areas of your life? Okay. The whole, yeah, the why me? How dare they? Or getting caught up. Oh yes, something else. Getting caught up in the news. Because you're supposed to be aware of what's happening in the world, right? And so therefore, and then you end up hearing about this war in this place, and this person is acting this way to that other person, and all this emotion inside of you that has nowhere to go, because what are you going to do about somebody's war over there? And even me saying that, there's a part of me that thinks, so what? I shouldn't think about it because it's not affecting me. Yeah. And I know that can sound callous, and especially if you're social justice and this and that and the other. Yes, I get it. I get that we want to care for people, absolutely. But how are you helping anyone by getting frustrated and feeling powerless to change anything? But then all you're doing is shouting on social media and getting angry with anybody that would even suggest that you should just stop listening to the news or something, ultimately. And you get all this angst, but it doesn't help the people that are dying in the war. It's like when I don't know if your parents did this whole thing, but where they tell me when I was younger, oh, that food that you haven't eaten. Think of those children in Somalia that have no food, and you left your food on your plate. How could you? Even as a child, I used to think, yeah, but how does my food right here help that child in Somalia? Ultimately, how does my not eating this help that child there? It doesn't, but you kind of get this stuck in your brain that somehow if you need to be outraged that the world, how dare people be treated in this way? Ah! Guess what you're fueling? You're fueling this physical reality. You're fueling distraction, but you're not actually helping anyone. Okay, you're not actually helping anyone. The way to help people is actually to be your very best self, really truly committed to living your best life, because you have no idea the impact that will have on the people next to you, and then the people, because you've impacted the people next to you, that they too will rise up, they impact the people next to them, the whole butterfly effect, right? You have no idea, just you being you, really you, can impact the world much more than you yelling and shouting about, oh my god, there's justice, and it doesn't help. And yes, again, this could be an area that could be quite horrible to hear for some of y'all, because you're really invested in social justice and trying to prove that they're wrong and you are right, and the way you think is frankly, don't listen to the news that much. If you really want to be, anyway, that's just my take on it. But ultimately, you're giving energy to the physical reality, which again, we thank you for. However, how is it working out for you? Because that you're keeping yourself at a frequency of energy that will draw the same kind of noise and nonsense and craziness to you. Okay, because that's the other side of this, is yes, you keep yourself low, you're descending into the underground, drawing to yourself people in the underground that have a similar kind of energy as you. Okay, and events and circumstances at the same frequency, which is probably all the stuff you do not want. But because you have chosen to stay at this frequency, thinking, well, in the case of social justice, thinking that you're fighting for the poor or fighting for the weak or whatever, when you're not really actually doing anything. So ultimately, but it feels as if you're doing something, but it's a distraction. It's a distraction. It keeps you very busy in the underground, very productive for the physical reality. If you're in the matrix, you're productive for the matrix, but it's not actually helpful to you, and you're disconnected from source. Okay? You're disconnected from the divine. And so yeah, you can stay there. We will be talking about how you can get out of it and the other ways of fueling the physical reality. But I really want you to start to see and to be aware of some of the things that you might even have considered to be a good way to live. Is it really? Is it really good for you? It might feel familiar. It might even feel noble, because you've been programmed to think that it is noble and responsible You're the good person when you act in this way. You're the good person when you think in this way, when you shout in this way about this particular event or something. And it might even offer you belonging and a sense of identity, particularly if you're in a family group or a peer group where you all think the same way. Or you're in a church group where you all think the same way, or whatever religious group, and you all think the same way. Everybody else is like this too. You all feel like you belong. You're all fueling the physical reality by staying at this low vibe state. But is it what you want really? Does it really feel good to you? You kind of, the physical, you're sold this idea that you're in control, but are you? Are you feeling peaceful in this state? Okay? Who are you? Because sometimes we hold on to these struggles and these because we don't know who we are without it. It's the way you've lived your whole life. You don't know how not to live this way. But ultimately, living in the underground ends up with usually illness of some sort. Okay? All the anger can lead to cancer. All the fighting yourself all the time, autoimmune conditions, okay? Or just a tired body, feeling drained all the time, anxiety all, everywhere, feeling panicked all the time, your creativity short, okay? And then, your relationships don't feel that great. I mean, there could be parts of your life that are working really well and other parts of your life just really falling apart. And the problem is that you start to believe that this is just the way life is. It's just the way life is. And yet it's not. So, what resonates for you out of what I said there? We will talk about what we can do to sort it out, but today is more about, have you descended? And start to think, would you prefer to ascend to the throne? Use the affirmation, I stay on my throne. Let's do that quickly. So at least I don't leave you feeling completely sad. But I do want you to be aware. Just to be aware, okay? I stay on my throne. I am worthy of the best. I allow the best to flow to me, and I stay on my throne. I am loved. I am worthy. I am enough. I want you to listen to that today. Definitely. If you haven't listened to it already, listen to it as soon as you watch this. Because I don't want to leave you in a state of just awareness of where you might be in the underground. But at the same time, I do want you to be aware. Because you can't handle something if you're not even aware that there's an issue. So start to look at some of the things that you may have considered as that's just the way life is. And you just have to put up with it. Not true. There is so much more available to you if you will allow yourself to ascend. And we'll talk about ascending in the next part. So look at these different areas and think. And what resonated with you, make a note. And we'll look at the ascending tomorrow. Okay, until the next time, my lovelies, go forth and prosper. Much amazing love.